Hi, Catherine.
Hey, Emily. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So technically we only have, do we include Chanel? We only have 3 members.
For quorum, you mean?
Yeah.
No, so I mean, I don't count because I'm not on your committee.
Yeah.
I'm here to support. So right now I see it's just you and Marshall who's on the committee.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone in the
Is there
attendees.
is there a process where it's like past a certain time we don't, or we wait till?
No, I mean, it's up to you. Basically, I mean, we're supposed to wait for quorum ideally to start. So I don't know if there's anyone who said they're coming in late or anything. The one thing is that when you don't have a quorum, you can talk about committee business, any announcements and things like that, but you can't have new business or or vote on a resolution technically. So if there was to be anything, let's say, to talk about, and then hey, let's pass a resolution, that can't happen without a quorum. But you can speak to agenda items and committee business more generally.
Okay, because usually they told me that it would begin around 7.
Yeah. 7. I mean, I don't know who else. Let me see. I mean, Chanel, do you know if anyone has said that they're running late?
Just one person. Oh, here. And we have Michelle Lee. Let me see.
Yeah, it's up to you oh yeah, Michelle's here. How many members do you have?
Hi, guys.
So now it would be 3 for sure. Now we have 3.
Yeah, we can get, if it's up to you if you want to wait a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll wait a bit.
Yeah, so I see the list. You would need, there's I think 8. So for anything, I don't know, I guess any new business resolutions, you would need 5 members, but let's say if there's only 3 of us, 4 of us, you could totally start whenever you want to start. And we can talk generally about the agenda items.
Generally, okay. I mean, I guess so. I never been in a situation where we're waiting for quorum so long, but it's probably because of lack of chair. I'm not too sure. Okay.
No, it happened. I joined in. I'm still on our other call, but I joined in. I know it's your first time chairing, so I'm here for the committee generally in the background. Any support to answer any questions you have.
Awesome.
But it happens all the time. So that's why I'm like, this is your moderation. And Michelle's on the call too. So if y'all want to start and call the meeting to order, it's your call.
Yeah, I may have to jump a little bit early. I'm so sorry to have to do bath time by myself. My husband is out of town on for work. So I can listen in, but I may have to hop off for a little bit for bath time around 7:30.
No worries. I understand. Yeah, I guess that would be a conversation between Mr. Vanderpool and I then, and Catherine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. So we have not reached quorum, but we can chat about the agenda as just mentioned. It's 7:11 p.m. 2nd of June, 2002. So let's chat a little bit about the agenda then. Maybe I can reflect it on the screen, or I could just say it out loud. I'll say it out loud. There's only like one thing on the agenda, and that would be receiving input on public safety resolution of the 191st Street St. Nicholas Avenue Tunnel and the entrance of the southwest side of 168th Street that has the 1A and C trains. So at last month's executive committee, Barbara presented the public safety resolution, and the exec committee voted to send it back to the committee and receive input. And it says from TNT and Housing and Health Services and other committees. So I'm assuming we're not the only committee that's talking about this, but maybe we could talk about that a little bit. What does anyone have to say about it?
I also have another question that I want to bring up, is like wondering when is this our last meeting before the summer break? Or like, yeah, sorry, I was just like trying to understand, because I have some news to share from a previous resolution that we had tried to pass.
Okay, maybe Catherine could aid me there.
I'm here for y'all. I know folks are newer. Yeah, so this is our last this is the last committee meeting. June's the last meeting month before the break. So then we go on break. So sorry, the last meeting's the general meeting. So then we have July and August
July
off,
and
and then we come
August
back in
off.
September.
July and August are off, you're saying?
Yeah, so we don't have any meetings. There's no we are on vacation, quote unquote.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I would say the meeting the resol that you were talking about, just to get out the way, that was something that was brought up to exec, and I think also in the general meeting. It's a little bit of a blur. And essentially, it was around safety concerns at the tunnel. And ultimately, I think from the discussion, it was just that there's a lot of kind of the asks in terms of like, what are we asking the city? What are we asking NYPD to do? Were really limited. So their input. So the idea was like, is there anything that maybe other committees have spoken about that we can kind of share with Barbara? I know public safety met yesterday, so I don't know if they progressed on that, or they want to kind of hold until the fall for it, considering that it requires more conversations in terms of what are we specifically asking the city and NYPD to do.
Okay, so we're going to hear from all of the committees about this then? I'm assuming, because that's
I was trying to mute. No, it was just generally like, there wasn't a timeline, and that resolution isn't time specific either. So I don't think it's something, to be quite frank, like from my perspective, it doesn't seem like it's something that is going to go back to the general board this month. It was just like, we need more time to like think about this and to compile feedback from.
Okay. So we have to have a hearing then?
No, normally what's happened with resos like that like, it happens all the time, let's say like with parks and public safety especially have happened, where they're talking about maybe parks in the summer, and they want the park offices or like the NYPD. And so essentially the full reso would go to that other committee, and they might give some suggestions, note those up, send it back to that committee, and then do that. But sometimes it takes months, especially like we've seen with the rezoning, for example, it takes months. And so every committee will discuss it at some point. But this one was more about like, hey, it'd be good to get your feedback on what that could look like. It wasn't necessarily a reso that is, and it didn't sound like it was a reso that was going to go back. So I would say, you know, because there are not enough members here tonight, that's not something that has to like be discussed, you know, or sorry, that's not something I guess to feel pressured that like, hey, we have to send our comments today.
Right. Okay. So I hope that maybe during the summer break, maybe people could put comments. I could put it as a Google Doc, and if people want to add additional comments, they could add it. I have it up right now, and I'm not sure if maybe people want to see it reflected on the screen, or if they have received it. Has everyone here received it by any chance? And have anything that they would like to add to that? I could reflect it on the screen if y'all would like.
Yeah, I think you should put the document up. I mean, I'm a little turned around only in that. I apologize if I'm just sort of jumping in like this. I don't know, usually we do introduce ourselves for the recording. I'm Marshall Vanderpool. I'm the first vice president of the Dyckman Resident Association, and I am a public member of the committee.
Okay.
And one of the things that I recall is that it was either the general meeting, well, I'm thinking about the executive meeting, and Barbara Frazier had drawn up the reso, and there was discussion about the reso and that it wasn't as precise or defined as it could be. And that's why, and I think it was also referred to other committees to look at. And that's my understanding with why it's here. That helps. I'm gonna land my plane.
No, yeah, that makes total sense. And hi, Richard. I know you just joined. We were waiting for quorum, and I've never been in a situation like that. So now we're just chatting about the resolution for the 191st Street tunnel. But yeah, Marshall just introduced himself. So would you like to introduce yourself as well?
I will. My apologies for being late for this.
No worries.
I'm Richard Allman. I've been on the community board for a while. I am a member of both the Housing and Human Services Committee and the Aging Committee, and have been making an effort to develop an LGBT task force as well.
Ooh.
My professional work is with a senior center right now.
All right, thanks. And sorry about that, Michelle. I know you're hopping in and out and you're probably busy, but I don't know if you wanted to do a short introduction too. I feel like I jumped over that.
Sure, yeah, I can do that. My name is Michelle. I am a member of the Housing and Human Services Committee, and I am also a member of the Youth and Education Committee. I've been on the board for about a year. Yes, and so I'm wrangling a little one by myself. So I'm gonna be off video for a little. He's kind of all over.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Catherine, do you want to do a little introduction?
Yeah, getting to see you, Michelle, Marshall. I don't think I've met you, Marshall, before. My name's Catherine Diaz. I'm a board member. I'm not a housing. I used to be a housing and human services member. Haven't been in a long time. So I am popping out here in support of Emily, and also kind of balancing my health and environment. I'm on health and environment committee and on the executive team as well. So balancing those today.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're one short of meeting quorum. So I definitely wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to reach quorum and follow the agenda and follow the moves as well. But yeah, I guess I'll introduce myself as well. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Marte. I'm one of the newer members of the Community Board 12. And I actually joined in the fall as a substitute for someone, like late in the fall, probably around November was when I was appointed. And so I'm technically still like learning. I received the binder with the rules. I'm reading through it. So I was kind of a little scared or intimidated when I was told, oh, no chair, you're up. So yeah, but I guess now we'll just have to chat about the few items that we have here.
To do that, Emily, I want to respond to your self-introduction, just
Yeah.
because it's with a lot of appreciation, and any of us who have been on the board know that we were probably in a similar position at one point. Mostly my appeal is to colleagues on the board, on the committee, certainly including public, and to people who are here as participants or in the audience tonight, just to be respectful of this as both an important meeting and also a transitional meeting. And I think we can all be respectful of that.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, I was a little bit intimidated just because housing is definitely a space that I want to learn a lot more about and that I don't know much at all about, and that I really want to help people in my community with. So I was hoping to initially just like shadow Marielle and still help her in everything that she needs to do as a chair. But now that she wasn't reappointed, I guess I just kind of have to lead everything and still learn from the members, learn the rules, and learn a lot more about housing on my own. So, but through everything here in community board. So it'll be a great experience, or maybe until there's another chair that's appointed. But yes, so yeah, I guess we'll just continue. And I don't know if Chanel introduces herself or she just mediates the meeting through Zoom, but
I mean, I can introduce myself, sure. I'm Chanel Peniagua. I'm the community associate, and yeah, just here to mediate the meeting and
thank you.
for whatever you need.
Of course, thank you so much. Yeah, but I guess it looks 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're one short of quorum. So I guess we'll just continue talking about the 191st Street resolution. I'm going to reflect it on the screen again, 1 second. And I do see what Marshall meant about how it didn't seem like it had as many details as other resolutions that I've seen. Maybe they're looking for more statistics and more details of why there needs to be more increased public safety in those areas. It is pretty simple. It's just like clean cut. We have these issues, save us. But I guess we do need to put more information here. So I'm not sure how, maybe we just have to like pull up articles with statistics, if that's possible to amp this up. But I do see what she means. I did take a look at it. Child supports intervention. So I don't know if anyone has anything to input here, if they also agree, if they don't agree, if they are willing to add comments, or if they have any suggestions for the resolution.
Yeah. I see a resolution that makes sense to me, but internally, I'm wondering if there has been coordination with our transportation committee, since this resolution calls on the Department of Transportation to act. And I don't know perhaps Chanel is the person to answer on that question.
Could Chanel answer that?
If the resolution is going to the Traffic and Transportation Committee?
Yeah, I mean, this I'm a little new to it right now, and I'm just trying to figure out how to answer, since it calls on the Department of Transportation to act in a certain way. I would think our Transportation Committee would want to be heard and involved in that. I don't think they're likely to find a lot of objection, but it's the kind of thing we usually do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna view it in this upcoming meeting. Perhaps they are, but I think that you know, they want the input of, you know, the Housing and Human Services Committee as well, like what can be added to the resolution.
Oh, was this resolution generated by the Transportation Committee?
No, I think it was generated by the Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess, oh yeah, and before I say anything, Marshall, you had a comment?
Yeah, because I guess I was on YouTube watching the executive committee when Barbara was talking about this. And there was comment about the different, for lack of a better phrase, stakeholders of the asks that were made of the different electeds and departments. And as I said, it wasn't precise as far as the asks that were made of the particular parties. And I guess it got sent around to the different committees for their, our comment. I don't know. That's pretty much what I came to from that. As I said, I was on YouTube in the bleacher seats, and I couldn't really interact with any of the dialogue that was going on. But that's my recollection, and I'll land my plane right here.
Okay, thanks, Marshall.
Yeah, I wanted to add, Marshall, you're precisely, everything you're saying is right. I think that whereas where it says, we originally requested the increase of public safety measures. If you could scroll down a little bit to I think it's the second resolved. No, that was one specific one. I think it might be the next one, sorry. I just would address public, sorry, let me.
Yeah, this is the only page, yeah, that I was sent.
Oh, right. So I guess it's right. So she writes, or what it says is supports intervention and violence mitigation measures to address concerns. And essentially what the dialogue was like, well, what do you mean by that? Right. Because there are intervention measures being implemented that are contentious. There are other, you know what I mean? So basically like specifying what we mean by that. So that's why it's like, if anyone here has any ideas or something they would like to see, was the goal of like kind of shopping this around. But, to Richard's point, right, definitely traffic and transportation needs to give some input. Pretty much every committee, I would say, would give some input into what specifically we're trying to see. Because we kind of left it so open that it's like, we're not, technically, Eric Adams does have his plans right now going on, and not everybody is in agreement with it. So it's like, what is it that we're exactly looking for? And that's the part that we were like, felt unclear, and why the committee voted for it to go back to committee.
Yeah, I think the phrasing, intervention and violence mitigation measures, I think if we're trying to offer broad general terms, those are broad general terms. But I think a lot of people will interpret that in terms of different public agencies and any of a number of service providers that are involved in violence mitigation. I guess I think the discussions are worthwhile. What's noticeable is that there is not a specific mention of the New York Police Department. And I'm not, at this point, I'm not offering a suggestion one way or another, but it's noticeable.
But it could be suggested if that's the whole violence mitigation part. And what would be the intervention mitigation?
I think that there are some genuinely different thoughts about, even though I wasn't in the other discussion, just this choice of words says to me that there were some genuinely different thoughts about what are the appropriate interventions.
Right.
I don't know what to say other than the discussion should continue.
Right. And Marshall?
Yeah, another point comes to mind though, because in the discussion, it struck me as this tunnel is kind of like a hot potato. Department of Transportation really doesn't want it and they don't have it and they don't want to take it back. I guess transportation has it and they can't really address it as like maybe more common kind of concerns, like a sidewalk or a street or a traffic pattern or something. So it really gets kind of squishy as far as, well, who are you going to ask and who really wants to have it to really address it? So, and I think that's about all I got for that at this time.
Yeah, so it seems clear to me that in terms of the person who suggested to send it back to all the committees and that it's not very clear, it's very vague, is definitely true. And as you both mentioned right now, it doesn't really clarify which agency should take charge to address each of the issues here. So maybe doing suggestions on that, commenting on like which section could be covered by which agency or which agency wants to participate in this resolution. Maybe that could clarify a little bit more this resolution. And maybe adding some statistics, because here it says just like increased reporting. Maybe if we had like clear numbers, that would help out as well. I'm not too sure what would make it a more complete resolution, but to me, that's what it's sounding like. What does everyone say? And I see a lot of Q&A questions. Yeah, but that's what I've been getting from both of you. Not sure if you have any suggestions, if we should just like do a Google Doc and ask, you know, everyone here to input, you know, this department, can we ask this agency to participate for this ask or to address this issue? Or if we have to talk to them before putting it, I'm not sure how that process goes, but.
No, I can, I think that's a good idea, Emily. Like folks can just send you any thoughts and like people can sit with it, think about it. And you can kind of take those comments and forward that to Barbara, and to Domingo for public safety. And, you know, whether it's like, whether it's, you know, specific, I don't know, units or agencies we want to see in the subway system, or like, you know, I think the one thing that they did specify, so anything similar to that would be like, we want to see like the routine, the weekly maintenance of the tunnel. So like things like that, folks can send, and then you can send. We don't have to consult agencies unless it's obviously like something we have a big question about for an agency. But I think this is really more about, our own.
All right, yes. Yes, Marshall?
Oh, yeah, and I just wanted to return to the title of the resolution. It also speaks about 168th Street as
Mhm,
well as the 191st Street Tunnel.
mhm.
And I mean, and as I understand, there have been, I believe one of the board members was attacked at 168th Street. So, I mean, there are two different issues with this, even though it does revolve around our subways in the neighborhood.
Right.
And like I said, to try to maybe crystallize it just a little bit, the main thing I'm thinking with the 191st Street tunnel is the debris and who's taking care of it. With 168th Street, there was interplay with the police and what we're would be asking them to do.
Mhm,
And I believe with the violence that's been occurring on the subways,
mhm.
it was more a thought that the focus of the police right now is to be on those platforms and looking in those trains and protecting the ridership as opposed to being in the station patrolling those areas and protecting people as they enter or leave the subway, because I believe, and I've been through that I guess exit, people do seem to congregate there, and it's been a problem with I guess with some of the homeless issues in play that I'm kind of losing my chain here, but again, to crystallize, we're talking about two different spots
Mhm.
and a wide assortment of issues as far as the homeless issue that manifests from that. And I believe there was a scaffolding issue with
Right.
168th Street,
Mhm.
and it was a question of who really had the authority over that. I think again, I'm not clear on that as well.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know. Maybe I've given you more mud, but I hope I've given you some clarity as far as the mud we're walking in. And
Yeah, for
I'll land
sure.
my plane here.
No, yes, you've given us lots of gems. Yeah, so that does make sense as well, because it's two different stations that probably have their own sets of issues individually. So that probably explains why the whereases are very vague, because then it would be like one whereas would pertain to 191st and the other one to 168, but they're trying to like make it for both, like a resolution for both stations, which is probably why they made it as vague as it is. But then at the same time, it won't address the individual sets of issues for each one. So that does make sense. Are you suggesting or probably saying that that's not in favor of the sets of issues for both and probably calls for like a separation of both, like making two resolutions, Marshall?
I mean, in one sense, I believe that probably is a more functional address of the problems. We isolate each of the problems, but I'm not the author,
Mhm.
and I can understand you're trying to get something down, move forward with something, but there were commentary as far as along the lines that I've described. So it might be better served. Um, maybe it could be written as one, but addressing 191st and then 168th within the same resolution, perhaps.
Right. I mean, it probably could be possible. It's just that the whereases are gonna still be like, I don't know if they could split it up into like two categories, like 168 issues, 191st issues. But then the resolution for both is sort of the same. Maybe that's why they put it all in one. Because as it says here, like supports intervention and violence mitigation. I guess they think that that's the way to solve issues for both stations. But if they're going to do that, then probably be more specific in the whereases for each, right? So I guess if that's allowed in a resolution, we could add that as a suggestion. And I'll do the minutes this time and see, maybe we could send those suggestions to Barb and Domingo. So those are good suggestions. Anything else y'all would like to add about this resolution? Let me check these. Yes, Richard?
No, I think those were useful comments. I sort of think everything has come out at this point. I do think as a committee, this is the moment to look at whether we can continue with the meeting tonight or not. We don't have a quorum. It's 45 minutes after the scheduled start of the meeting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
reluctantly, I think we have to face up to that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you say, Catherine?
No, I agree. I was gonna say that too. I realized this was actually the only agenda item. So
Yes.
I think the only option, unfortunately, is to adjourn the meeting. We can't speak to any new
Yeah, we can't
business
say
or
anything.
even to hold business. It's June also, so it's a tough predicament to be in. But it's also not fair to all of you, excuse me, on the call, because there's only 3 committee members, 4, sorry, with Emily
Yeah.
and Michelle does. So I agree with Richard's sentiment.
And Catherine, I see that there's, because you know how we have panelists and then attendees, there's a lot of questions from the attendees, and one person raised their hand.
Oh yeah, attendees can speak. Sorry, I'm seeing it now. So the format, I'm seeing some of the comments. So the format for all committees are that they are webinars, and so it looks different depending how you register, but essentially you only, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you only see the panelists, which are the board members. And then based off of agenda items that are current, then first, just the way that it happens in sorry, actually it only happens in committee meeting, doesn't happen at general meeting. So like when there's an agenda item, committee members speak to it first, and then you can open up to the public for questions or comments on that. So that's the format. Obviously in Zoom, we're not able to see, right, like who is publicly attending for our record. That's why like the registration link asks for folks for names and emails and all that, so that there's a record in terms of like public participation. So I'm trying to figure out
Can I call on some people that have
Yeah,
their
yeah,
hands
you
up?
can
Okay.
unmute Chanel, or I think if you're co-host, you can unmute folks to speak.
Okay.
I'll say there's a question there around the business, and I know Richard, I think Marshall, you've also been on the community board for a while. And so, the reality is that based on the bylaws, on the law, we don't have a quorum. So we're not able to speak to new items, to resolutions, because that's stuff that has to be voted on.
Right.
And
I think-
yeah, go ahead.
I think all of that's true. I took a look at the chat, and I think the questions that are asked there are pretty reasonable questions that are pretty easily answerable. I think Catherine just answered all the procedural questions. I believe Emily spoke before to Marielle Ali's situation and why she's not here tonight. And that's all I'm seeing in the chat right now. If there is someone who raises their hand, of course they can be called on. Please do identify yourself by name. Anonymous attendee is a little bit awkward in a public
Right.
meeting.
I see Phil Z. Phil Z, you have your hand up.
Yep, that is me. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, this is Phil Zablocki. I've been on numerous other housing and human services committee calls. I've had a bad connection, so I apologize. I didn't hear the answer, I guess, to what reason did the elected officials give for not renewing Marielle on the community board. And then the other question I had was, what's the status of the public hearing regarding the Fort Washington Armory?
I'm willing to
I-
take on the first of that, which is
Yeah,
you would
please
have
do.
to ask those public officials.
Roger that.
There's
I'm
no
not-
expert in this room on that subject.
I have no idea. I'm so scared, Phil. Yes.
Yeah, and then I always ask about the public hearing. So I think Marshall and Richard know it's kind of routine for me to ask. So just seeing if there's anything new.
Let's see. I am looking through like past messages that they asked officials for a June date, but haven't received any responses. So I don't know if that just means that we have to keep asking, Phil. And that would just mean that I need to follow up with office staff on this as well, being that
Roger
it's
that.
like summer break.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. And let's see, we see Dr. Gary Alfame. There we go. Oops, sorry, I don't know if I asked to unmute. Okay. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Emily. Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to
Dr.
meet
Gary Altheim. I'm the Executive Director and Founder of Growth and Development Services. I don't know if you've ever met before, but thank you for your service to the community, and thank you for you have been put in a very difficult position. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the resolution that was passed on May 25th, 2021. So I don't believe that anything that is going on right now within this committee is your fault. So do not worry about that. You've been put in a very awkward position right now. I'd like to acknowledge what a great job Marielle did, and Marielle was speaking up on the Armory issue, and that it's just a very strange coincidence that then she somehow was not reappointed. So I have just want to make you aware, because I understand you're new and everyone should know that I have been, we were wrongfully evicted from the New York City Fort Washington Armory. There was a resolution called Resolution G, which was lost by one vote. And that vote, we submitted a conflict of interest. That vote was to reinstate GDS. We were serving, we have mental health services in the Armory. And we were offering free mental health services, and The question that's often asked that you'll be asking yourself for a very long time is, why is no one speaking up on this issue that was passed a year ago, the big resolution, which is 17-14. So one of the board members from this committee asked specifically, you have to ask yourself why? Why would a mental health program that was offering free services in a building that is city owned, that is not being given access, why are not all of the committee members and all the community board members following through and asking, why isn't this resolution going forward? I created GDS because of the importance of mental health services. One of our youth died by suicide, unfortunately, because they didn't have a place to go. This was always very important to me, to have mental health services in our community. So I would beg you as the new chair and the committee members to please, this is about the youth who need mental health services and the youth who need a safe haven. We have all of the facts, and this is now over a year. So why isn't a public hearing going forward? What are the rules of the public hearing? And the resolution from May 25th is not just about the public hearing. There's supposed to be a board created. So if you look at the other resolves, we just to, again, keep you abreast, because I know it's a lot to catch on and we can't expect you to know all of this. Hopefully the other committee members will help you. But one of the past committee chairs was thrown off of the committee because she spoke too much about it. And that was unfair. So I'm an advocate for mental health. I believe we need a safe haven in our community. And I just want to make you aware of the importance. My last request is that on March 7th, 2019, on March 7th in 2019 at the Housing and Human Services Committee, the Department of Homeless Services was here. The Department of Homeless Services was left out of the resolution. So the resolution is addressed to Adonis Rodriguez, which is now Carmen De La Rosa, who didn't reappoint Marielle. And there are 20 public officials that are supposed to help make this happen. Department of Homeless Services was left out. The two people at the meeting on March 7th, 2019 were Liliani Irvin and Matt Borden. They promised GDS that we could bid on our own space. We have 1,200 square feet in the Armory. We believe it's still empty for 3 years while we have no home for our mental health services. So I am asking you and this committee to please find out where the request for quotient that was stated that we could bid on our own space. And I'm requesting that this committee does a tour of the Armory and find out why our space has been sitting empty for 3 years while youth on the street in our community, not necessarily on the street, some of them need a safe haven and they need mental health services. So I'm asking you to please help as the new chair to make this resolution go forward. And find out from DHS, specifically Liliani Irvin, who has not followed through. She's still at DHS. What happened to the promise, which is on video and audio tape, for growth and development services to be able to bid on their own space that they were wrongfully evicted from and locked out of, that the public officials promised to give us a new space if we were kicked out. So I'm advocating for the youth, and we need mental health and we need a safe haven in our community. So it's not understandable to me why anyone would turn a blind eye to this. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I needed to go on record as an advocate for the youth we work with and the needs in our community.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Dr. Gary Elfame. Yeah, I was briefly told about the Armory, and I still have to read up on everything that was, read the minutes and everything. And I do know that this was part of old business. And Catherine just said that we shouldn't go over that, but it is an important issue nonetheless. So I do appreciate you filling me in on it.
Thank you. I'm not surprised that Catherine told you not to talk about it.
For the record, I said that
I explained the procedural process because
No,
here's
that's
the
the,
Okay.
thing,
like, as the
Okay. Oh, so
procedure.
Catherine,
So
thank you
there's
for
no, I'm
listening.
not asking. No, I'm not. I wasn't asking. I'm saying stating for what I was talking about
Okay.
procedure. I wasn't trying to get into a conversation about it. I was explaining
Oh, we don't have to
procedurally.
get into a
There
conversation. Do you
isn't.
know the status
Yeah,
of the
it's
public
okay.
hearing?
There
No worries,
isn't.
y'all. I
There
didn't try
isn't.
and
No, no,
make
no.
like
It's
an
okay.
issue
There
out of
there
it.
isn't a quorum tonight. So
It
there's
doesn't matter if
a
there's not
lot of
quorum. I'm
housing.
just curious why it's taken over a year to go forward with the public hearing. It's a question. You're on the executive committee.
Yeah,
And Emily
Marielle
is not.
last month. So I was actually gonna say that when Emily brought up the thing last month, Marielle, it seemed, reported back on it, and it seemed like there was some type of progress for a date. But again, I'm not a committee member for housing. I only know what was shared during the
How
exec
long does it
meeting.
usually take? How long does it usually take by the bylaws for a public hearing to have to go forward? According to the city charter, when there's a public hearing that's passed on May 25th, 2021, as all community board members, I'm not aware of the bylaws, but how long does it typically take for a public hearing to go forward? This is now over a year. You must know the answer to that, so I'm just curious.
No, there isn't a specific answer. Every hearing is different. I think there's very specific rules when it comes to ULURP, but other hearings are about how we coordinate with parties. So for the reality is there isn't quorum at this meeting tonight. You
I'm just
can
asking
reach
you
out.
as an
Right,
executive
no, and I
committee
know,
member.
and I just shared what my last knowledge that was shared was that there was
Mhm.
progress
Well, why
being
do you
made.
think this
What
has
that
taken so
progress
long?
was made.
Why do you think this has taken so long?
I don't know.
Sorry,
Really?
y'all. Can I intervene? I mean, I understand. The only reason I said that, like, oh, Catherine said that, like, in old business, I wasn't trying to, say that that's what it meant. But I'm just saying, like, if it's old business and we're not supposed to go over it without quorum, so that there's at least majority members.
Isn't the place for the community board for people to have their voice? I'm not
No,
concerned
yeah,
about quorum.
definitely.
I'm
No,
concerned about.
I'm just saying,
Just
like,
like
I hope I'm
everybody
not
should see
stepping
everybody's
over.
face. Everybody should see each other in the chat. People are lonely. There's a sense of COVID. How could we not see each other? And even the fact that I can't, you probably want to see me, right, Dr. Gary? So how come we can't see each other in the chat? How come we can't have a sense of community and a sense of COVID for 2 years? This happens throughout this community board 12. It's not done this way in other community boards.
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely understand that. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to be doing some kind of a hybrid situation, Gary, because that's definitely true.
Yeah, no, thank you, Emily. And again, you've
Yes.
been thrown into this, so there's no disregard to you. God, so it's not about you.
No,
Just like
I'm
it's
happy
not
to
about
be
me.
here.
It's about
No,
the you.
really.
Thank you.
Really, I'm
Yeah,
happy to
thank you.
be here, and I do hope that we do address this issue, being that we're still in June. Who's following up? So I believe that I will get an answer.
Okay, so
no
just for the
worries.
record, I want you to know that the Department of Homeless Services is not addressed in the resolution. So they were left out of the CC. So Matt Borden and Liliana Irvin, the two people that attended in 2019 and who me and Mr. Zablocki met with, they were not, no one from DHS has shown up, and they're the ones that wrongfully evicted us along with the Armory Foundation.
Okay.
And
I'll
the
make
SUNY
note of
Attain
this.
Lab is empty. The building is empty. Why doesn't Community Board 12 do a tour of the building? And that's where it was requested that the public hearing be done, in the exact building that is a 2-acre building that was meant to be for the community that is still empty while the youth need a space to go. Just more background. Thank you, Emily. You could mute me now.
It's okay. Thank you, Dr. Altham. Yes, so now that we've spoken about the one agenda item, and I think old business, that is, right? I think I shouldn't bring up the other old business because we are in that quorum. It was about the resource fair, I believe. That's the other item that Mariel told me about when I initially started. But if anyone does have any comments on that, then maybe we can do that offline and then wait until we do reach quorum for the next meeting. But if anyone has any comments before we end for that. Let's
I
see.
think we've reached that point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, then.
Yes, I believe we've reached that point.
Yes, we have. Okay. But yes, thank you all for joining. Even though we didn't reach quorum, we still talked about really important issues, and I made note of a lot of good stuff. And I do have a question for Catherine. Being that we didn't reach quorum, does that mean we don't have minutes, or do I still do minutes on what was spoken about?
No, you still do minutes. Yeah, you
Okay.
put what was spoken about, and that essentially you write that the meeting. I mean, you put who was in attendance, and you can kind of put it at the top that the meeting didn't have quorum, just so that like it's really clear.
Okay, got it. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. Yeah, so that would mean I will make a move to adjourn. And does
I
somebody
think
second? Or there's
we
no.
can't
I don't
vote
need
on a
to?
motion.
I
Just
can't
that.
even make a motion because we didn't even start. Okay, cool. So that's the rule. Okay, so I'm going to adjourn. That's it. But thank you all for joining and listening in and giving me your input. I've made note of it.
And thank you, Emily, for some
Yes.
extra effort tonight.
Of course. Have a great evening, y'all.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
We will.
Happy
Bye.
summer.